Hello, and thank you for checking out this video. I'm Zealous, and I'll be going over Osamu Tezuka's popular shoujo manga, Unico. Let's start off by going over who is Unico. If you're unfamiliar with Unico, here's a quick history. In June 1976, Osamu Tezuka, creator of series like Astro Boy, Blackjack, Jungle Emperor Leo, and more, was in California waiting for a direct flight back to Japan. While there, he was able to visit Sanrio's animation studio in Los Angeles, where he got a glimpse of their work-in-progress film titled Metamorphoses. The movie was Sanrio's first collaboration project between Japan and the US, and Tezuka was inspired by what he saw. So inspired that he envisioned a cute unicorn and asked for paper to sketch out a design. This sketch was the beginning of Unico. Sanrio was also working on serializing a monthly magazine for girls called Lyrica, and had asked Tezuka to draw a comic for them. Tezuka was happy to join and started working on a new comic almost immediately. While on the plane back to Japan, Tezuka named the character Unico, deriving from the word unicorn. So what's Unico's plot? In the manga, we learn that Unico is an adorable companion to the beautiful Psyche. Similar to the Greek tale, Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, is jealous of the young woman. When she learns that Psyche has Unico, she creates a plan to get rid of him for good. After a few tries, she successfully captures Unico and orders Zephyrus, spirit of the West Wind, to take him away. The West Wind felt sorry for Unico and instead takes him through time and space, allowing his memory to be erased, and then placing him in various places. If he uses his powers, Zephyrus takes him away so Venus will not discover him. He must start over each time, forgetting anything and everyone he knew. So what's Lyrica? We mentioned Unico's start in Lyrica magazine, but what kind of magazine was it? Well, Lyrica magazine launched in November 1976, 5 months after Unico's creation. The magazine was unique in that, unlike traditional Japanese books, this magazine would be read left to right with horizontal text and published in an all-color AB size format in hopes of releasing to Western audiences. The magazine not only features comics, but also stories, crafts, contests, horoscopes, Sanrio goods, and much more. As the magazine was geared towards young girls, several stories included drama, romance, fun school-aged adventures that girls would relate to. Tezuka and the other artists tried their best to create colorful comics, but it did become difficult to maintain. In later issues, you'll see more monochrome or two-toned comics. Were there any problems during the comic's run? Overall, Unico didn't have too many issues during its run in the magazine. Osamu Tezuka was a hard-working and busy man, so there were times he couldn't finish a chapter. For example, from June 20th to July 8th, 1977, Tezuka traveled across the globe to places like Easter Island, the Inca ruins, Mexico City, Paris, and more. Since there wouldn't be a chapter, they published a map showing Tezuka and Unico traveling together for research. The editors also created a quiz where 20 people would receive an autographed version of Tezuka's new book, How to Draw Manga, or a stuffed animal Unico. Unfortunately, Tezuka was admitted to Nippon Medical School Hospital not too long after his adventure on August 15th with acute hepatitis. The third installment of The Cat on the Broomstick would be published in two-tone format the following month in September. Then Unico went into hiatus once more. Obviously, the comic returned after 2 months, but during those 2 months, Lyrica magazine published 2 comics Osamu Tezuka made several years prior. Song of the White Peacock and When the Greenery Ends were featured, as they also fit well with what the magazine wanted. The 4th installment of The Cat on the Broomstick was then released, but it was in two-tone and monochrome. The following chapter, Unico in Solitude, would also be entirely in black and white. We assume that several things were going on at this time, which led to the comics not being colored. Norio Yamakawa, Unico's editor, states in Tezuka Fan Magazine, My only regret is that there were times when the entire comic was supposed to be in all color, but for Tezuka Sensei's convenience, it was 2 or 1 color. I am very sorry about that. This brings up another interesting thing to note. The same month Unico in Solitude was published in Lyrica magazine is also the same month the first collection of Unico comics was published. While the book is almost exactly the same as the magazine version, Tezuka did go back and edit the comic. This isn't uncommon for creators to do this, but it's quite neat to see the before and after. Since many of the longer chapters like The Cat on the Broomstick and Buffalo Hill were published in several parts, edits were made to make one continuous story. Here's an example. Issue number 2 of Lyrica features part 1 of Buffalo Hill. Unico turns Mary and Teepee into adults on the bottom left panel, and then it's to be continued. Then here's issue 3 of Lyrica with part 2 of Buffalo Hill. The first panel actually shows Mary and Teepee transforming into adults to let readers know what happened in the previous magazine. Now here's the page we are all familiar with if you've read the comics. Both pages have been combined to allow the comic to flow without interruptions. While this is great for publishing the anthologies, there is quite a bit of artwork that is removed. After the first collection of Unico comics was published, the second volume would be released after Lyrica magazine ended. When you open the book, you'll notice black rain and white feathers at the beginning instead of Unico in Solitude. The reason for this is because the publishers wanted the colored comics to be in front, while two-tone and monochrome chapters in the back. This required more edits as the chapters were rearranged. In the original comics, Unico hadn't healed the old woman yet. He does this in Unico in Solitude before Zephyrus comes to take him away. Since the comic was in black and white, they moved it to the last and bumped Black Rain and White Flowers to be Chapter 4. The beginning of Unico in Solitude was changed to reflect this by mentioning Romanoff and Marshka from One Night Only Ball. Confusing? Here's a list of the comics and how they were originally published in Lyrica magazine and the list we know today. As you can see, the prologue chapter until chapter 3 were the same. Then everything changes. Did this mess anything up story-wise? Nah. It was edited this way because several chapters weren't colored, and for the most part, each chapter is a standalone story. While all published versions of Unico have the same chapter lineup, the print-on-demand version released in 2021 actually put the chapters in their original order. This is cool until you notice that all the edits previously done are still present. Even though the Unico in Solitude chapter is back to being the 4th chapter, it still mentions Romanoff and Marshka, whose chapter doesn't appear until later. So when did they finish coloring the comics? While we don't know the exact date, the first publication to have each chapter fully covered was the Scholar Deluxe set released in 1995. This is also the first time the comics were split into 3 volumes. As you can see, chapters like The Cat on the Broomstick were no longer two-toned in black and white, but beautifully colored. The comics would continue to be published in both monochrome and color versions over the years, including internationally. The end of Sanrio's Lyrica magazine. Towards the end of Lyrica magazine, Tezuka continued to create chapters of Unico. There would only be a few times he was either too busy or traveling to finish, but he was able to complete the final chapter, The Tale of the Fangs of Athens, before the last issue of Lyrica was released on March 1979. After the magazine was discontinued, Sanrio returned the rights to all the creators so they could do as they pleased with the comics and stories they created. While it appeared Unico would never get an official ending, Tezuka did continue making comics of Unico, but for younger fans. The following year, on April 1980, Unico would begin a new adventure in Shogaku Ichinensei, or first grader, magazine. But we'll go over that in a different episode. That's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested, please feel free to like and or subscribe to get more videos. I'll mainly focus on Unico, but I love a detour every now and then. See you next time!